I've always wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be in law enforcement. However, my mom had a different view. She thought being a cop is dangerous. But I still wanted to pursue my dream. So the odds are stacked against me. You know, 40-something, gonna go through the academy. You kidding me?
You know that feeling when a dream just won't let you go? My friend Ted does. As a son of an immigrant, his parents had clear ideas of success, sitting in an office, wearing a suit. And like any good immigrant son, Ted followed that path. But he had a dream too. And like so many good dreams, it was one that never faded away. So, what happens when a dream refuses to die? Do you follow it and shake up the life you built? Or do you ignore it until hopefully it goes away? Today we'll talk to Ted, a 50-something-year-old who chose to go after his dream of becoming a cop. Yup, this is a real-life rookie story. Now, what made this the perfect timing? And what can his midlife career change teach us about trusting God's timing in our own lives? I'm Alio Garcia Pablo, and you're listening to Making Changes, a podcast about changes we go through and the life lessons we learn along the way, but always with God by our side. Hey, Ted.
Hey, Lee.
Welcome to Making Changes.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You know, when we were putting this season together and it was about making changes, you were one of the first people that popped in my head, because when I found out that at, almost 50 that you decided to change careers and be a cop, I was like, I have so many questions for Ted. So I don't know if you remember, but when the last time I saw you a while back, and I was like, you became a cop? Because my parents had told me, and I couldn't believe it. And so I was like, is it true you became a cop? And
that is true.
That's true. Yeah. So I have so many questions. So first of all, this whole cop thing, how long have you, I heard from our pre-interview from our producer that it's kind of been like your childhood dream. Is that
true? As far as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be in law enforcement. However, my mom had a different view. She thought being a cop is dangerous, right? No mother wants their child to be out there in danger. So she said, no, I don't want you to be a cop. I wanted to be in the military too, but she said no.
How old were you when you first verbalized to your parents, I want to be a cop, Mom?
12 maybe?
12, yeah. What was it about being a cop though? Is it just from watching Chips or?
It's part of it maybe. But it's I like guns.
Oh, okay.
Growing up since I was a kid, a little boy.
A real boy. Uh-huh.
But eventually that turned into understanding what, police does and law enforcement and helping people, providing protection, things like that. But my mom didn't want me to do that.
Yeah.
Instead, she wants me to go to school and do other things.
So what was your mom's dream for you?
Just go to school, get a regular job, 9 to 5, have a family, things like that. Something quiet, peaceful.
And steady and stable.
Yeah. I wanted something else. I wanted to do something more daring, I suppose. But
adventurous.
Yeah. I just couldn't see myself just sitting in an office, wearing a suit and tie. But exactly, that's what ended up happening.
Yeah. So I was thinking back when we first met, and I remember, we just heard in Redwood City, in our local congregation in Redwood City. Oh, there's this guy Ted. He just moved from New York. New Yorker, you had your big hefty Mustang, and you were a stockbroker.
Yeah.
And everyone just said, oh, he's a successful guy. At such a young age, you're a stockbroker, you had your own place from New York to the Bay Area. And from the outside, that's what we saw, right?
That's true.
And so how did you end up from, wanting to be law enforcement and then, listening to your parents, your mom, and then you went down the path of finance?
I followed my parents. They said, hey, go to school, do something with your life. So I did. It started out, I remember, I think I was in my third year, summertime. My parents asked me, hey, do something, get out, go find a job. So I did. And I remember putting a resume together, and back then I didn't use emails, didn't have emails.
Nope, not in the 90s.
So
well, it was just starting.
Yeah,
Emails were just starting.
You're right. I remember printing about 25 to 30 resumes. And I walked up and down Wall Street, all the investment houses.
Door to door.
Literally, right? And first week came, no phone call. Second week, I was like, nobody wants me, right? And then there's one sales manager from an investment banking firm called me and said, hey, I got your resume. Why don't you come in?
So what did you go to school for? What was your
Finance.
undergrad? Okay. So
right?
it was,
first 2 years was criminal justice, and then I switched.
the first 2 years was criminal. So you really, like, that whole law enforcement thing was really still within you.
Yep, but my parents said no. My mom said so. So I switched. But so I went, door to door, got my resume out there. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the sales manager. So interviewed me. I got the job, but before we ended the interview, he said, "Did you realize that you put your phone number is wrong? I had to look you up." I was like, "What do you mean?" So I looked at the resume. I must have put a wrong number.
You put your own wrong phone number.
That's why nobody called for 2 weeks. I was like,
how did that happen? You forgot your phone number. Okay.
I made a mistake, and so I started with this company, D.H. Blair. That was an investment banking firm, and that's how my career started. I was taken in by a sales manager. I mean, that's where I ended up learning the ropes as far as being in finance.
Yeah.
On the sales side.
But I want to go back to your parents. So now you're working Wall Street. Would that be accurate? Were you working Wall Street, stockbroker? Your parents must have been really happy.
Yeah. They were very happy.
Yeah.
I made it on my own. I left home when I was about 20, turning 21. I had my own place. And then I went through the whole gamut of starting from the bottom, working my way up, helping my parents, buying them their, I bought them a car, one of the things I wanted to do for them. But eventually I ended up in California.
Your parents are immigrants.
Yes.
Right? Came from the Philippines to New York when they were, did they have you guys already? Or
yeah.
Were they...
It was just me and my mom. So we started out together. We immigrated to the United States. This was in early 80s, late 70s. But at that point, my mom always worked.
What kind of job did your mom have?
She was a teacher.
She was a teacher.
Right. So for the most part, I would just be at home by myself.
Latchkey kid. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I would wake up, she's already gone. She already went to work. And then she would come home and I would be asleep. So there was a lot of prayers. She prayed a lot and made sure that she taught me the value of prayer and trusting everything into God. Yeah. And that's why when I told her I want to be a cop, she goes, "What? That's not going to happen."
Yeah, because she was always worried for your safety. So I think, you and I are both, come from immigrant families, right? And so our parents' generation, there's really no such thing as dreams, right? It was more about stability, being able to provide. Never mind what you want to dream. Just make sure you're stable and you have means of living. So, obviously the whole safety thing, you can't blame a mom. I would feel the same. But do you think for you and your brother growing up, was there any talk of pursuing a passion, any of that?
No, not at all. Yeah. I understand your question, but what I remember is just get an education, get a job. So long as you're getting a paycheck, that was it. Nothing really. She really didn't talk about what are your passions. well, what's your lifelong
What's your
dream?
interests?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like, get a job, get a
Yeah.
paycheck. You know, it's like the day-to-day thing.
Yeah.
I guess that's a mentality of our parents, their generation, where they came from. I guess life is a lot harder.
Yeah.
So they get here to a new country, and for them, and with all these opportunities, and they just want to grab something solid and lay down foundation. Her
Yeah.
dream was to be here, and
She achieved it.
She did, you know. And again, it's all through God's grace. We were blessed. Growing up, I remember we didn't have much, right? But whatever we had, we celebrated. As an immigrant child, and she asked me what I wanted for I think that was my 10th birthday. So what do you want for a birthday? So, and for a 10-year-old, you know, I don't know why, but I just wanted a bucket of chicken. That's all I wanted. And she gave it to me.
As I'm watching you tell this story, it's like the memory, you know, is very vivid in your mind, and I saw you smile. Why is that such a core memory for you? It's a bucket of chicken, Ted.
Yeah. I guess at that age, I knew we didn't have much, right? And I just couldn't bring it up to tell my mom, you know, I want a Nintendo, or I want an Atari or something, a game. I knew she couldn't afford it, but I knew she still wanted to provide something that I would enjoy. I like food. That time I loved chicken. So she, we walked down to Safeway and we bought a bucket of chicken.
Your mom really, I think you really hit a really important point there. Her dream was to make it to America. Anything else after that didn't matter because she had already achieved it. And so I'm sure for her, raising you, she's like, wait, you're already in America. What other dreams are there?
Right. To a certain extent, you know, I know she did her best, right? She wanted to provide things for me. And I'll never forget this. We settled in an apartment walking distance from Long Island City, which is
The chapel.
The chapel. And I said, hey, because I didn't drive. I was still young. But she found an apartment close to the chapel. One of the things that she would always tell me is like, hey, if you need something, just go to the chapel. If you're afraid, you know, because I'm not around, just go to the chapel, right? The minister's always there, or the caretaker's always there. So whatever you need, just go there. And so that's the reason why I picked, when I moved to Redwood, my apartment. I remember.
It was on what side?
It was so close.
It was literally like a 2-minute drive from the chapel.
Right.
Wow.
Right, like 5 minutes away from the chapel. I've always wanted to be close to a chapel. And that's what I learned from my mom. It brings me comfort that if I ever need anything, chapel's there.
What are the values did that instill in you growing up?
Trusting everything to God. Because even now, when I left, I was 40 when I basically retired from finance. And I helped out my wife. She's a dentist. But I still wanted to pursue my dream. So the odds are stacked against me. You know, 40-something, gonna go through the academy. You kidding me?
Did you know you can find the Iglesia Ni Cristo in over 166 countries and territories? So if you're like Ted and you want to move closer to a place of worship, all you have to do is visit iglesianicristo.net and search for the house of worship near you.
A couple of my friends that are a cop, they're like, you know what? If you want to do it, you got to do it now because you're not getting any younger. So I did. So my journey in law enforcement, I started about 3 years ago.
You were how old? 47?
Yeah.
By then?
Yeah.
Because
So
now you're 50. We're in our 50s, Ted.
I know, right?
We're in our
Can you believe
golden years, Ted. Oh, my goodness. But let me go back a little bit before you go into your journey about into law enforcement. So when you got married to Lovely, did she know that you've always had this dream?
No.
You never even told her?
No. Well, maybe I did, but we
The
didn't
fact that
really,
you don't remember probably means you
we
didn't
didn't
tell
talk
her.
about it.
Okay.
And I don't recall bringing it up to her. For all intents and purposes, I already have what most men would want in their life: stability, family, wife, kids, a family business that I could just stay
Successful
in
family
and
business.
still do well.
Yeah.
So when I told her that, hey, I want to pursue law enforcement, first, I could see her eyebrows just went up. And like, what? And I was like, oh man, here we go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it was a tough conversation.
Yeah.
She didn't see the need. For her, it's like, you're going to leave me by myself at the office? You're going to go do your own thing instead of... So it just, it was a difficult conversation. It took a while for it to sink in. But by the time I wanted to, really start the program, she saw my passion. She basically said, okay. She agreed to it.
Why did you feel the need to pivot and to make that change in your life at 40-ish?
I know.
Like, why do you think it never left you?
It's so odd to see feeling helpless, not being able to... There's so many things that goes on. You step out of the house, look at the news, call it injustice or whatever, right? I guess I just wanted to do my part to somehow make it right. I don't want to politicize anything, but there's so many things that I see that doesn't make sense, right? A criminal can walk into a store, just grab everything and walk out and not
no
supposed to
one can
do anything.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So that was happening. And I was just like, what?
So you mentioned earlier you wanted, when you were 12 or so, you wanted to be a cop because there was something about being a hero and superhero, right? That of course, that's what a lot of boys think about, capes and all of that. But now you're in your 40-ish age, and now it's a different type of intention. There's a different perspective on why you would want to make this career change. It's making a difference now.
Yeah, it's when you're younger, when you're a lot younger, you think you're invincible.
Yeah.
Right? You think you're Superman. You think you can do anything. Then as you get older, you get wiser. All right, maybe there's other means or other ways to be effective or to make a change.
So now you have this hard conversation with your wife. I mean, I'm sure when she's telling you, speaking on behalf of, your family, I'm sure doubt crept in. Like, do I really want to do this? Is this really the right decision? Or you tell me, what kind of thoughts and doubts crept in to that internal tug of war on really deciding? Because that one decision isn't just going to affect you now. It's different from when you were single. Now you have 2 kids, right? It's like 3 other people that this simple but big decision would make.
Yeah, when I came to that point, the first thing that popped in my head is, hey, you know what? Go seek help. And what I learned growing up is, if you need help, talk to a minister. And at that time, I talked to a resident minister. I asked him, or I told him, these are my plans for, what do you think? He thought about it. He looked at me. He's like, you really want to do that? Then
he said the same thing that your wife said.
But eventually he said, if you're not violating any doctrine, and if you think that this is, something that you were paid for, I think you could be of help to the administration someday. So go for it. Okay? So I got the green light. I went for it. I continued my devotional prayer.
What did you say in your prayers, if you don't mind me asking? I know it's kind of intimate, but I'm just curious, like, what were those conversations with you and God like?
Just let His will be done. I never dictate anything. It's part of trusting Him is just laying it out there. Let Him guide me as far as making the right decisions. Like finding a good wife. You pray for it. But as far as career-wise, I've always entrusted everything into him. Even my move to California, I just left it up to him. Wherever I landed, you know, I didn't know anybody here, right? But the point is, I've always just left it up to him, made the decision. You know, whatever you decide, I'll follow.
Even though you were ready that even if maybe the answer was no?
Yeah.
And, but it's something you'd been holding on for so long.
You know, when I got through the academy and I told management that, because as a rookie, they'll put you anywhere. And I told them, I said, hey, I have worship service on Thursday nights and Saturdays. I need these days free for me to worship. And it's no negotiation. I told him straight up, I said, you know, if you're not going to give it to me, I walk.
This is after the academy or during?
This was after the academy. Even during the academy, I told my chief, I said, hey, you know, you need to be able to release me and go to worship service. Our academy is in Atlanta.
Oh, so you had to go to Atlanta.
Yeah.
How long was that? How long was the whole training?
Tactical thing was about a month.
So, okay, I have to ask only because we're 80s kids, right? Like, police academy. Is it anything like the movies?
No. But it's a good question.
You're the only person I know who's ever been to the police academy. So I know it's just a movie. But so it only takes a month?
No. The whole program was 6 months.
6 months. And what do you learn? You learn how to shoot guns?
So the tactical portion was, you know, they sent us to, so I did the BLAC, the basic law enforcement, also the federal law enforcement training. The whole thing, it's the actual training bit and the academics about 6 months, and then another 6 months field training. I
mean, just being real, Ted. Okay, so I told you that in preparation for this interview, I watched The Rookie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, all of my references are pop culture. I watched The Rookie. Okay, so it's a TV show, and you know he's very similar to kind of your journey in the sense that he decided to be a police officer kind of, you know, in his 40s later in life. And he kind of, you know, physically, he wasn't able to run as fast as the younger cops. They would make fun of him. He couldn't climb you know, when they're doing a chase, couldn't climb the fence. I mean, things like that. Did you have any concerns about the physical limitations at your age joining the academy and being a cop?
Yes. Simple put, yes. One of the things that we had to do, full-on gear. We have our tactical.
That's heavy, right?
Yeah, about 35 pounds.
How heavy is the bulletproof vest?
So it's a soft armor.
Oh, okay.
So with all the gear that you have, the ammo and all that, the magazines, the radio, it's about 35 pounds. Wow. And then, so you have your sidearm.
What did you have to do on your end just to make sure that you would be, you know, more physically fit? Because you would have a disadvantage. Well, first of all, what was the average age of those at the academy that you were with?
The youngest at that class was 24. And everybody else was in their late 20s. Right? And it was me and a couple other guys were like the geriatric. Yeah, but it was funny because when it comes down to the shooting part, I actually graduated top of my class as far as
blew them away.
The shooting.
Yeah.
But there was this one kid, he's Marine. He would not give up. You know, he wanted to retry again because you get like 3 shots. I mean, 3 times to if you wanted to do better in your qualification. I scored perfect. And he wanted to score perfect. He just would not give up. And then we're all just looking at him like, come on, dude, just give up already. But when it comes to physical stuff, he's always first. You know, up the stairs and around, you know, doing a mile run.
Because he was a kid. He was young.
Yeah. But when it comes down to the academics part, again, me and the other older guys, we all topped our class when it comes to the
so
academics.
In a way, in hindsight, because you know we only think about the physical aspects of law enforcement, right? But on the other side, it actually served you better that you joined later in
The
life?
physical part is one aspect of it. I mean, the reason why I chose the Fed, because I know I'm not going to be gunning and run. Although there is still that danger aspect because we do patrols, right? But I'm not a municipal cop where I'm patrolling the streets day in, day out. Part of my job is to, protect the people, the property, and more importantly, the operations of the Federal Reserve System, where that's if you're familiar with the Federal Reserve, that's like the bank of banks.
So do you like when there's like bank robbers and stuff? Heists
So we
and
leave that
everything?
up to the FBI
Okay,
and we leave it up to Secret Service as far as counterfeits and things like that.
Uh-huh.
But the operations of the Fed, that's what we're there to protect. Yeah.
So, as you're saying that, like you chose to, I mean, is that a choice or how do you end up being part of the Fed versus municipal?
Yeah. So most people, when they think about cops, you see a guy in the street.
Yes.
But-
Eating donuts. No, I'm kidding.
But law enforcement is,
Yeah.
there's different levels, different agencies. I wanted to be able to stay close to my duty
Your duties in the church.
and not be taken away too long.
It also makes me wonder if subconsciously you're still hearing your mom's voice in your head saying it's dangerous, right? Being a police officer is dangerous. And so you picking this position, this department is, yes, it helps you to still perform your duties as a head deacon in your local congregation, but also the whole safety aspect is covered.
The risk is always there, because when you have a police sign in your back, somehow you're always a target, right? Whether you're in a hardened post or you're out in the street when you're doing patrols, there are things that is inherently dangerous when you're walking around the street, and we do that. We do patrols. You got your gear on, you're out there.
So when you, having your conversations with your wife, was that part of the deal too? Like for her to say, okay, yeah, that's fine, but, I don't want you to be, a cop that is, on the streets and you have a higher chance of being hurt.
I explained that to her. Took a while for it to sink in. Because again, you tell somebody, yeah, I'm a cop. First thing that pops in, like, guy in the street chasing bad guys. If the situation calls for us to intervene, we will. We have to. That's what we're sworn to do. If a life, if someone's life is in danger, let's say there's a shooting right in front of me, yeah, I have to
And you're
react.
off duty, but you'll
I have to react. Yeah. So it's part of the
training.
the duty that I swore to uphold, right? If someone's life's in danger, then yeah, I'm obligated to step in.
You're 3 years into this new career of yours. Is it everything you imagined it would be, or more, or what?
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, my wife's probably going to kill me. I'm looking into doing the police reserve for Albany, for Walnut Creek. That's a street cop.
Oh,
Because, I can. And so, I just recently, don't tell my wife, I recently just turned in my applications.
she doesn't know yet. She's gonna find out when she watches this episode.
I'm in trouble. But yeah, I guess I still want to experience that.
Yeah.
Chase a bad guy.
So the dream isn't done. Like there's still things you want
little
to
bit more.
explore. Yeah. But I have to ask Ted, like how does it feel, going back to your time at the police academy, how does it feel to go from, you're already successful finance guy, business, you own a business, and you're basically comfortable with where you were, and then to all of a sudden start out as a rookie, start out as a guy that is competing with 24-year-olds, right? What does that do to the ego, number one?
Oh boy.
But on the other hand, is what did that do for your own personal growth?
It was awkward at the beginning because knowing that I can just drop everything and go back to my old life, it's, I have that option.
Safety net, yeah.
Right? But at the same time, you asked about the ego. That all went out the window the first day. Because part of the academy is they induce stress. They don't care whether you're 10-year veteran from the military or whatever walk, wherever he came from.
Yeah.
They don't care, right? They want to wipe all that out and instill their own discipline.
Basically build you up, break you down and build you up.
And so the biggest challenge for me was the mental challenge and the induced stress to be able to think through certain scenarios. And I didn't see that coming in the beginning until I realized, wait a second, this seems so familiar from the different management trainings I had. And then so that gave me an edge. I was able to understand what the program is right away, as opposed to the younger guys. They're like, what in the world are we, why am I here? Right? This is too much, stressful. But I couldn't speak for the other older guys, but for me, my experience allowed me to have that edge, still think through the objective and the mission, despite of all this, outside stimulus that we're trying to induce us with. Sleep deprivation is one of the other things that, some weird stuff. But at the end of the day, my experience in life allowed me to be able to have an edge. Enough for me to be able to graduate, get through it, and just get it done.
You're mentally stronger.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that.
Because you have more life experience. Yeah. Dare I say more resilience as well with challenges in life and just.
I didn't give up. I knew what I wanted to do and I stayed focused. And the physical, probably the biggest challenge for me was the physical part because again, I'm not a spring chicken, right, compared to these guys. But I had enough gas in my tank to be able to get through it, and not enough. I would say enough for me to continue to do it. But if I were to look back now, I wish I would have prepared a little bit more physically, because it's always the biggest challenge, the physical part, right? Because if you can't run, you can't climb walls, you can't do this, you can't physically take somebody down, then it's hard.
Do you think the 18-year-old Ted who wanted to be a cop already, if the 18-year-old Ted had gone into the academy with obviously less experience, because when you're a teen, you really, right, you don't have much experience in your pocket, do you think, how would he have done? Seeing how the police academy is.
The 18-year-old Ted was a very hot-head guy. I don't think it would have lasted. Maybe it would have, but I don't think it would have lasted in the street in New York. Yeah, 18-year-old Ted was very hot-head.
So your mom was onto something.
Yeah. Even the 50-year-old Ted's still a hothead, but I've learned how to suppress that. But yeah, an 18-year, I think maybe that's, that's a good point. Maybe that's the reason why my mom said, I got into a lot of fights when I was a kid.
Wow. Yeah.
So that 18-year-old Ted would have.
You would have been the one getting arrested instead of. So going back to, you mentioned earlier that, when you were a rookie or when you were in the academy and afterwards you already said, look, I need these days off. Okay. You're very persistent that this is, and what did your colleagues say? What did everyone else say?
Everybody said, oh, you're crazy.
Yeah.
They're not going to give that to you. You're a rookie. It's like, you're nobody here and you're demanding all this. Of course, I just looked at them like, I didn't say anything to them. I didn't have to say anything to them. I went straight to the chief and I told him straight up. I said, hey, this is the deal. This is my faith. This is my belief. It's either this or I'm gone.
This is after you'd already passed the academy
even before
and training.
I went to the academy, I told him that, hey, you're going to have to release me, from the academy during training to go to church. So, again, he called the trainers and sent an email. It's like, all right, this is what Cadet Teodoro is going to be doing on these days. And when I graduated academy, they were, I finished my FTO program. They were going to give me my regular shifts. So now I either work, I would have ended up working in the weekends. And there's no way that was going to happen. I told my chief, I said, again, either you give me days.
You were making demands.
Yeah, I did. And they were like looking at me like
what
Look at
gave
this
you?
rookie.
You were a rookie. What gave you the confidence and bravery to be able to tell the head honcho, like, look?
I guess it was my experience in corporate. Right? The worst thing they can do is say no and like let me go. They brought it up to HR, brought it to legal. And of course, HR, they're like, well, we're going to need this and that and whatnot. Okay. So I went to church administration. The church administration central sent a letter attesting that, hey, he's head deacon of the locale. These are the worship services. So his part is very integral to. So I got that letter, the attestation from the local and from also from central, and I turned that in. And they gave me a specific shift where it allows me to perform Thursday evenings and perform Saturdays. So my regular days off is Thursdays and Fridays. I work at nights. That's the only.
Did you work the night before coming here? Last night?
I guarded the chapel.
Oh, you guarded? It's a different kind of work. Thank you for tuning in to Making Changes. We're so grateful to have you on this journey of growth and transformation. Let us know what topics you'd love to hear, whether it's spiritual growth, navigating life transitions, or deepening your faith. Your feedback helps shape our conversations. And if the show has inspired you, subscribe and leave us a review. Your support helps us continue bringing uplifting conversations that empower change from the inside out. Let's grow together. Drop us a topic suggestion and hit that subscribe button today. What would your advice be for others who are watching, listening, when they come to that kind of fork in the road and decision on what do I choose? Do I choose my commitment to God or the thing that's going to put food on my table?
I never thought that I would come across that in my life until now.
You were there. Yeah.
They always teach us in worship service, choose God, right? Before you even accept the job, look for the house of worship first. And that's what you and I grew up on, right? Let God decide for you. And it's such a simple recipe. And so it came to that point. Am I willing to just give this all up? I made it. I'm there. Right, I got the badge, and I sworn in federal officer, but I can't perform my duty. So that was a very, very tough decision, but I stuck to it because that's what I learned growing up. Right, always entrusting everything to God. And it's never failed me. So why should I, give up on Him now? So I prayed. I had my devotional prayer, and I left it up to Him. I made that stand. They asked me, hey, you need to give me some proof, some district and central, and I provided as they asked for. And they couldn't say no, right? But again, even from the very beginning, I'm not that young, I'm not great shape. Everything was just against me. But I just kept pushing forward. It's like, God, this, because I've already entrusted everything to God. Even when I decided, like, hey, I want to be law enforcement, but let me ask God first. Let me seek advice.
Yeah.
So from the very beginning, everything they teach us in the doctrines and the lessons in worship service, all the advice that you get from the ministers, it's true, right? It's a simple recipe, but it's the hardest thing to implement in your life. I'm here already. I've sacrificed so much. I've spent so much time. And now I'm a sworn officer, but I can't perform as a head deacon in the tribuna. Is it worth it? From the very beginning, I came from nothing. God has always watched over me.
What does it feel like knowing that God has always had your back, even as a kid?
It makes me happy to know that whatever I do, He's there. Sorry.
It's okay. Why are you getting emotional just thinking about that? What are the thoughts in your mind right now?
Those moments where my mom is gone, I'm by myself. It was just him.
Hmm.
Right? Mom always told me, hey, if you're lonely, just pray. Don't give up. Right? Just put him first in your life and he'll make it right. And that's what I did. That's what I've done ever since. And my wife always tells me, sorry. And when I first met you, you were a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You were a choir member. And that's what attracted me to you.
Your faith.
Yeah. Guess no matter what, I'm always going to have my faith. I'm always going to put God first. And I hope to teach my kid the same thing.
You see how scary, dangerous the world is being in law enforcement. How does that make you even more confident that we need God now more than ever, with how the world is becoming? We don't see God, but we certainly feel him.
Yeah.
But how do you teach that to your kids?
My son goes to UC Merced and he's away from us, right? And every night, my wife always makes a point where to give him a call, to have a prayer with him, even though he's far away. And when I get a chance, I tell him, I said, hey, the world's not getting any better. You have to be aware of your surroundings, all that stuff. But more importantly, we never stop teaching him, put God first. When you're afraid, when you're lonely, right? He's a choir member, right? Fresno is about an hour, 10 minutes away from him, but there's a GWS there. It's not a house of worship. But I said, hey, you can always pray anywhere. God's always there. Always keep praying. Knowing that he will always watch over him, that gives me comfort. The way he watched me growing up kept me from all this trouble, kept me from all this danger. I'm confident that he will do the same thing for him. Even with my younger son, he's sixth grader now, but eventually he's going to go off to college. So even though my older son is away from 2 hours away from us, I'm confident that God's always going to be watching him because we taught him to put God first. Out of his, there are several church members in this class, but him and two other freshmen are the only officers. I said, don't give that up, right? Because that's your connection to God. Don't ever give up your office, no matter what. So, what I went through in life, even right now, as an officer, every time I get to my post, of course, I pray. Every time I put on my gun, I pray. Just get me home safely. And to those, what advice can I give someone? Never give up on God, because he'll never give up on you. Right? It's so funny because as a head deacon, you have members under you that you take care of. You visit them. You remind them. I was asked once by this members, they always teach the same thing. And I thought about it. And so the way I answered that's well, yeah, why do you think that? Why do you think the administration reminds us all the time, trust God, put your faith in God? And that brother didn't know what to say. So I told him, well, the reason why the administration is always reminding us, because we always forget. Right? You achieve something, you forget that it was God who put you there. Right? You accomplish something, sometimes you'll forget. Right? That's human nature. That's why they always remind us. And, as a parent, we try to teach our kids, never give up on God. Right? Always put your trust in Him. So yeah, just never give up on Him. He'll never give up on you.
On the theme of giving up, what would you say for people who have dreams, and why should they never give up on their dreams? You never give up on yours.
Yeah. So long as your intention is good and it's not in violation of any doctrines or God's laws, keep going, right? That was the advice that was given to me by a minister. One of the things I learned is, again, trusting everything into God. What you do things that would help the church. And that's a sure way of ensuring that God will always be there for you. So, I don't talk about it with a lot of people, but when you do something, you achieve something, if you put your goal, and it's a little recipe secret in life, how could I help the church? If I achieve this and accomplish this, would this help the church? You know this, my wife owns a dental practice, and one of the things that she told me, and I just never mentioned this to her, her dream, now talking about dream, is to someday establish, a dental practice and help the ministers and families.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I think that is the secret. You want to be successful in life, you want to pursue a career, you want to pursue whatever, how will this help the church?
And we hear in worship service all the time, God is always so ready to help us.
It is.
Right?
That's true. I honestly think that's the secret in having success in life and having peace.
Well, you've experienced, you're living proof. You've experienced it firsthand. And so you have so much credibility because it's not a theory for you, right? It is a life practice.
I lived it. Yeah.
You've lived it. So the show is called Making Changes. What would you say has been the biggest lesson, the biggest aha moment, you might want to call it, in this change that you've made in your life? What is the one thing, 3 years out now in law enforcement, what has this change done for you?
There's so many things, right? But just to sum it all up, it made me appreciate more what I have, because I didn't think that I was going to make it through, like the first couple of weeks of the academy. But again, I just kept going. It made me really appreciate, and I can't even put it in words, but just how amazed I am, like how good God is, right? To be able to get through this in one piece, with my sanity and still intact. But it's, to me, that was it. How much I appreciate what I have now. It's not just, it's not me.
There are people who may be watching. I mean, you mentioned earlier that, you were ready to walk away from pursuing this dream if they didn't let you, be able to still go to worship service and things like that. And you already had a nest egg, right? You had a family business. You could, as your plan B, if this didn't work out, you were safe in that sense. What would you say to people who may not have that kind of support system, but really want to pursue their dream? Do they risk it all?
Yeah.
Do they make sure that they have a safety net? And why should God always be included in our dreams?
I suppose it's easier for me to risk it all because I have, backup plan. But deep in my heart, even if I didn't have that backup plan, that's how I've always lived my life. It's all or nothing, right? It's all or nothing. When I moved from New York to here, California, it was all or nothing. I didn't know anybody out here.
You never do like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
No, it's either you're in, you're out, right? I decide one thing, and I know that I've already done all my preparations as far as devotional prayers and leaving everything up to God. Because that's the only way you can really prove to yourself that, hey, I trust God now. It's not in my hands anymore.
Mhm.
Right? If I fail, then I fail. But it's, there's a reason for that. If I succeed, again, there's a reason for that. And so it's 100% or none of it. All or none, basically. And to me, it's just how you can prove to God that, hey, I really, I have nothing else but this, and God is the one that's going to give it to me.
Mm. For people who, you mentioned earlier, not everyone has the same level of faith. Not everyone looks at God, at the power of God, what God can do the same way you and I may look at what he's capable of doing and helping us. How would you explain to someone on the importance of why we can't do life alone?
Yeah.
Why we can't try to control everything on our own? Why is there a need for someone higher?
Because we're just humans, right? We think we know better, but we don't. We can plan, we can do everything that's within our means, right, to make things work out. But again, God has his own plan. And if you live your life based on his plan, on his timeline, because eventually, it happens in God's time, right? If you didn't get it, then there's just got to be a reason why, right? All of us experience his blessings differently.
Mm-hmm. And challenges differently.
Yeah. Right? All of us are experiencing, whatever, family or health or financial at a certain level, right? How come this guy is living better life than me? Or why is that guy healthier than me? So, there's always going to be
Comparisons.
variance, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, God will bless you based on what's in your heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would you say to the idea of growth? And what I mean is that a lot of people, because we're human, right? We it's just easier to be comfortable. It's easier to stay where you could have stayed where you were, right? Your family business is doing well. You guys are stable, and yet you are willing to put yourself through training back to square one. How does change help in growth?
It's easy to do the layup, right? It's easy to just rest on your laurels. I've done this for the last 15 years. I've done this for the last 20 years. I'm comfortable. Why do something else? Right? It's easy to do what you've been doing. What's the hardest thing to do is deciding, tomorrow I'm going to make a change. Whether it's whether it's diet, exercise, or whatever. How I communicate to people. I'm not going to be as angry as I usually. But resting on, again, your laurels of what you've been doing, that's the easiest thing to do. Because you've gotten you this far, right? But deviating from your normal day-to-day and deciding, hey, you know what? I'm going to put the brakes on. I'm going to do this. This is what I want. That's probably one of the hardest things to do. So long as I'm still able to, it takes a lot of determination. And I knew that if I didn't make this change now, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this 10 years from now.
They say regret is worse than failure. Do you believe that?
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I don't regret anything. God knows I've failed in a lot of things, but I don't regret anything. All these decisions I made, even when I was a trader, I made a lot of mistakes. But do I regret it? No, because I made that decision 100% during that moment, during that time. The decisions I made between husband and wife, the decisions I made as a leader in the locale, as a leader in business, right? You try to do your best. You can't see and predict everything. And the worst thing to do is second guess yourself. Right? Does that make me arrogant? I don't think so. Because your failure is what's going to help you make better decisions in life. Right? It makes you stronger. Hey, this was a bad mistake. I knew that. I'm not going to repeat that. So failure, it's not a bad thing.
Because you learn.
Yeah, makes you stronger.
Yeah. So now we're going to do a rapid fire questions. And these ones are, some of them are just funny and just random. But
Okay.
because we're so intrigued with you being in law enforcement. And so you'll have to excuse all of the pop culture references here, okay?
Sure.
All right. Okay. This is not just for me. This is from the team. This is from the Making Changes team, okay? I'm going to just preface it by saying that. Okay. Whatever comes to mind. Who is your favorite TV police officer?
Poncherello.
Chips.
Yeah, exactly.
80s kid. Growing up, what cop shows did you watch?
Chips. Again, Eric Estrada, Poncherello. He's the only non-white guy.
Yeah,
as
it's
far as
true.
law enforcement.
Yeah, on TV back in the day. Yeah.
That's what stuck the most.
I think that was the only cop show.
Hill Street
growing up.
Blues.
Hill Street Blues, yeah. That was more
there.
serious.
Yeah, but that was the dark side. But
Yeah.
Chips was fun.
Yeah. So do you get to ride motorcycles? I'm just curious.
No.
No. Okay. What's the biggest misconception people have about cops?
We don't eat donuts all the time.
That's because Jan asked that question. Okay. Wait, you don't eat donuts all the time, but you
We
do have
eat them.
donuts
Don't get me wrong.
at your office all the time.
Somebody always brings
at your
a box
station
of, box of donuts.
So maybe it is kind of true.
It is always there.
What was your biggest misconception about being a cop before you became one?
Not all cops are gunning and running. Not all departments are gunning and running. I happen to be in a department where I'm not gunning and running all day long. Yeah, we do patrols. We can make stops and whatnot, but we lead those to SFPD and we go after the bigger stuff.
And lastly, change is
good. For my life, change has always been good. Difficult at times, but it's always been good because, again, I've never made a change in my life where I didn't have God involved. Change is always good, right? Why remain stagnant? Keep changing. It's good.
Well, Ted, or do we call you Officer Ted? Like, what is your...
Just call me Ted. I'm good.
Salute. Now, in all honesty, though, Ted, thank you so much for sitting down with me. And I learned a lot about you. And thank you for being able to really emphasize to everyone the importance of always having God with us with any kind of change we make in our life.
100%. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
And I feel safer knowing that, I know a cop now. Ted's story proves that dreams don't have expiration dates and that putting God first doesn't mean giving up on who you're meant to be. After 20 years in finance, he didn't just change careers. He showed us that we can chase our dreams without compromising our faith. So if you're carrying a dream that just won't let go, remember, it's never too late to start over. Just make sure to consult God and ask Him to guide your decision. That's what Ted did, and now he's living his dream. If Ted's journey encouraged you, share this with someone who needs to hear that midlife can be the beginning of their greatest chapter. And don't forget to subscribe to Making Changes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. For more episodes, visit incmedia.org or find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening, and may your change uplift you.